Hola, soy Dora. Or for those of you that don't speak 90s Nickelodeon, hello, I'm Dora. We are nerd theorists, and to celebrate 200 subscribers on the YouTube channel, I'm completely naked from the waist down. Welcome to 10th edition terrain. Today we are moving on to Battlefield Debris, which is French for debris. Not the cheese, debris, Desbris. Battlefield Desbris. Now, this is what we're working with today. If I can remember me left from me right, so I can actually get it on camera. Now, in the build tutorial for this one, I've done individual pieces like the pallet and the girder, or I-beam as Americans call it, and then this funky little barrel thingy. Now, because debris is literally just caca, rubbish, these bits are useful to know how to build because you can just do whatever you want. You could have a pile of pallets, you could have a load of girders, you could have broken pipe, whatever. But this is what we've done today, and this is what I'm going to show you how to make. But take any section of this and do whatever you will with it. Now, rules wise for Battlefield Debris, the rule base for this is any terrain that is large enough that it could hinder line of sight. A model can travel over it, but it cannot finish its turn on it. So really, you could plonk a model on top of this if you really wanted to, but the rule base states that debris, you can't start your move on it, so you can't have this in your deployment area and put a model on it. You can't finish your move on it, but you can move over it. But the whole point of it is that it could block line of sight, so you want it big enough. In theory, debris is any sort of scatter terrain, but you want it to be big enough to block line of sight, otherwise it's just there for decoration. So, example number one, we have a lone Space Marine firing at a Tyrannid. Now, both the Space Marine and the Tyrannid have line of sight to each other. So the rubble debris is just there for decoration in this case. However, scenario number two is you have two Space Marines in your squad and they are firing at the Tyrannid. Now, the rules state that if the model that is being fired at is not fully visible from every model in the attacking unit, then the model receiving the shooting gets cover. Sorry, I made that more complicated than it is. So basically, there's two Space Marines here. They're both firing at the Tyrannid. One of them has perfect line of sight. The second does not. Therefore, that Tyrannid has cover, and vice versa, because the Tyrannid can't see the other Space Marine. So neither unit is fully visible to every model in the opposite unit. It's complicated. There have been a few videos where people have beefed about this, because surely if you have 10 Space Marines in a squad and 9 of them are visible to the attacking unit but one of them isn't, that entire unit then gets the benefit of cover, which is true. But you have to bear in mind that this is a turn-based game. This isn't real time. In the real world, if a squad of soldiers were next to this rubble and a big bug was firing at them, they would all get behind the rubble if they were close enough. The other thing you've got to bear in mind is unit coherency. They have to be quite close to one another, so the chances that you're going to end up with 9 out of 10 units visible from the attacking unit is very slim. But there you go. These are the rules. This is what we have to live with. We are Warhammer players. We are built to complain about anything new. This is what we do. So, on to the build. Tinfoil, basically. Go and get some tinfoil. Go on, go and get some tinfoil. I'll wait. Okay, so firstly we're going to knock up some girders, or I-beams if you are Americano. Basically, you want some fluted plastic. Now, I got these pieces as a sample from eBay, 99p. If you just go on eBay, type in fluted plastic, a lot of companies that make it will send you a sample, free postage, 99p, and you get a couple of pieces, which is more than enough for making 10 or 20 girders. Alternatively, fluted plastic is what for sale signs are made of. So if you know someone that's recently sold their house or recently bought a house, I know from experience, having moved house 4 times in the last 10 years, estate agents are shy to actually come in and collecting these things. So just find the people and say, listen, I'll take it away for you, because one for sale sign will make you about 20,000 girders. Next up, I made some house bricks. I'm using some foam board. You can use extruded polystyrene, craft foam, cardboard, anything really. You just want to knock up some bricks, rough and ready. They're going to be scattered. The whole point of this is debris. They're not going to be nice clean ones. So just chop up some stuff into little squares. And then I made a pallet. I was really chuffed how these turned out, and they're going to be really useful. Obviously, in the future, we'll still be using pallets. We still have forklift trucks. You know, they're useful. So 41st millennium or whatever. So anyway, it's coffee stirrers or cocktail stirrers, depending on how class you are, but coffee stirrers and big fat kebab skewers. Now, I don't know if you can buy these. These were actually out of some kebabs that I ate. I got 9 little squares by chopping up the kebab skewers, and then I cut 16 lengths of coffee stirrers at 4 centimeters each. And then, as you can see from the video, it's just a case of gluing them all together, little blocks, one across the top, one across the bottom. Let them dry. I'm using a contact adhesive, like Bosch one, I think it was, but let it dry. I didn't, so it was slipping and sliding all over the place. But let each bit dry. You know, you're not rushing to make a video. You haven't left it till the last minute. You haven't got Dave saying, can this go out tomorrow? And then Tom going, oh, we could really do it, but going out tomorrow, and you having a rush. So, you know, take your time. And I also used some drinking straws for pipeage. I used some plumbing. I think these were 14mm couplings. They might be 15mm couplings. If you go back to my 5 quick and easy terrain ideas video, I go into more detail there about these. But they're basically perfect for little oil drums. I had some more foam board that I used as a broken down wall, and then I stuck some broken cocktail sticks in it, so it looks a little bit like rebar, and then a bit of pond filter, which is this little black ribbed thingy that I've used in a previous video, which just looked like corrugated piping. And then it was just a case of wanging it all on a board and making it look a bit scruffy. So now we can start knocking it together. You want to get yourself a big old lump of tin foil and squash it down. Now you need to make sure that this is really, really compact, because although it doesn't look like it springs out, it does. Over time it will spring back out unless it's really, really pounded down. And if you're sticking stuff to it, it will start pushing bits off. And so really slam it down hard and just keep adding more layers until you've got it to the size and shape that you want it. Again, small, large, whatever you want, but really compact it down, really push hard. Make sure you're pushing it down onto something firm so you get a nice flat base, so you can glue it onto a piece of cardboard or something afterwards. Once you're happy with your tinfoil lump, you want to glue all your bits and bobs to it. So it's contact adhesive again, gluing everything around it. You don't want anything looking like it's not being affected by gravity, basically. So you want stuff leaning on it, you want stuff to the side of it. I'm going to fill in the gaps with some stony terrain type paint, but you want it to look natural, like this stuff's just been thrown on to make a barricade of sorts. If you've watched the previous videos in this series, you will be very familiar with this granity textured paint that I'm using now. I've used it on pretty much everything, and as you can see, the jar is pretty much still full. This stuff is lasting for a bloody age. It's really, really good stuff, and I'm using this to break up the obvious lines where I've glued the tinfoil to the cardboard, and to fill in the gaps around the bits and bobs where the pallet was. I put a bit under there so it's not, so it doesn't look like it's floating. Bits on top around the barrel. Yeah, basically sort of squidged it on everywhere really, just to fill the gaps in and make it look a little bit more rocky. Once it was dry, I primed it in black, and then I mixed up some Pound Shop acrylic paint. I've said this before in the other videos, don't go and use your proper Citadel or Army Painter paints for this sort of stuff. Just use your cheap and cheerful paints. As long as it's acrylic, it will go on nicely. I bought black and white because I wanted different shades of grey. So first of all, I just mixed up a medium grey and pretty much covered the entire thing, and then left it to dry. Because the vast majority of this model was going to be grey, I didn't want it being one block colour. So I added a bit more black to the mix, and then stippled that all over in various different places just to mix it up. I then went off and put even more black into it to get a darker shade again, and then went again stippling all over. So I had 3 different shades of grey, and I used that darker grey to paint the wall section as well. And then it was just the detailing. So I used a medium brown for the palette, silver for the piping and the little bits of rebar that was showing. I used orangey red for the house bricks, a deep red for the oil tanker, and that was about it for colours. And then I went over it in Nuln Oil. Mostly I did use a bit of Rycliffe Flesh Shade for the wood, and I did use a sort of a crimsony colour for the bricks just to give them a bit more texture, but that was about it. And that's what you're left with. Like I say, the reason that I did this like this was just to show you how to do the pallets really, and the girders and things that could be used universally. You see, now this technique, once you are happy making the individual components of it, you can then make 5 or 6 of them, different shapes and sizes. You could do one that's just a pile of pallets. You could do, in my 5 quick and easy terrain ideas, I did some stacked oil drums, one that had fallen over with some green goop coming out of it. So yeah, and then you can mix this up with your ruins, this wall stuff. I shall be doing another video further down the line where we're talking about ruins, and we'll knock some ruins up. But that is your battlefield debris. Also in this rule base is statues as well, which classes is the same rule base because it's big enough it can block line of sight, you can't finish your move on it. And for that, you just want to go to a charity shop and buy an action figure, and then mix some of this granite-y textured paint up and swap it on, basically. Put it on a plinth. Dead easy. That's about it. Thank you for watching. If there's any questions, and I'm sure there will be, because this visibility line of sight thing for these is already causing quite a few arguments. A fellow content creator has already put out a video beefing about the system for ruins, which is even more complicated, but we'll go into that when we cover ruins. But yes, visibility line of sight is affected by battlefield debris, and it will cause you problems, because to be honest, I'm not 100% sure how it works, and I'm doing a video on it. So if you know I fucked this one up, please feel free to comment, because you know, every day's a school day. Thanks for watching. My name's Dora. I'm off to me and Boots going to the jungle for some Aztec shit. There we go. That's it. That's simple. The reason I did it like this in various different components is so you can just knock up whatever you want size wise. You can make them bigger, smaller. You can make 5 or 6 of these depending on the amount of tinfoil you use. Some with pallets, some without pallets, some with it, you know what I mean? There's little bits and bobs that you can add and mix up. Also covered by this rule system for debris is statues, because they're big enough that you can block line of sight but you can't finish moving them. I haven't done anything on that because all you need to do is go to a charity shop and get an action figure and paint it in this textured paint and stick it on a box, a plinth of some sort, and there you've got your statue. Snap one of the arms off, make it look like a broken one. Snap both the arms off, make it into the Venus de Milo. Do what you want. Anyway, thanks for watching. I'm Dora. I'm off to the Aztec rainforest with boots to try and find some ancient civilization that adults can't find, but for some reason an 8-year-old Spanish girl can. Yeah, anyway, like and subscribe, very important, or spiders up the nose. I've explained this before. Love you lots. It's well past my bedtime. I'm rambling. It's 500 degrees. Good night.